Welcome to the third part of this series in 4 entitled The Puzzle of Prepayment Tariffs. Combining prepayment and complex tariffs is no easy thing. So why is that? What's the puzzle we need to solve? Well, one cannot accurately apply a complex tariff based on consumption that hasn't happened yet. But by its very nature, prepayment requires payment before use. Does this mean prepayment and complex tariffs are doomed never to coexist harmoniously? Luckily, no, it doesn't, as we shall see in part 4 of this video series. But we can't solve a puzzle before we understand the problem, which is the reason for this video. The puzzle extends to the billing process. Traditional billing systems can apply complex tariffs because the bills produced after consumption has been determined. But equally, a traditional billing system does not manage prepayment well because the real-time rating of readings and updates to the consumer's account balance is very different to the monthly billing cycle of the billing system. While smart prepayment meters can apply the tariff in the meter, this adds the overhead of distributed tariff management, and meters are not accounting and billing systems. A prepayment vending system also cannot accurately apply a complex tariff because the consumption is not yet known at the time of purchase. To understand the puzzle, we need to know when and where a tariff can be applied. It's essential to understand that a tariff can really only be applied at 3 times, each with their own advantages and disadvantages. It can be applied at the time of purchase, but then complex tariffs cannot be accurately applied. It can be applied at the time of consumption in the meter, but this requires the tariff in the meter. Or it can be applied after consumption, such as in a billing system, but then you can't have prepayment. So one must always remember that the time of purchase is not equal to the time of consumption. It's all really quite a riddle.
Wait! I have a riddle for you. For me. Really? Tell me.
So why do block tariffs not work well when applied at the time of purchase? A quick reminder that block tariffs are associated with a period which is normally monthly. The rates that are applied to consumption start again from the off-peak rate at the beginning of each period. Actually, while block tariffs are defined at the monthly level, it's much fairer to spread the 12 monthly allocations across the year using a daily allocation method. So that allocation is then divided by the number of days in the year to get a very small but daily allocation. But unfortunately, this method cannot be applied at the time of purchase for prepayment. In order for a vending system to apply a block tariff, it has to convert the payment into prepaid units, kilowatt-hours, at the time of purchase. Consequently, the block tariff rating calculation must be based on units purchased in the block tariff period, because future consumption is not yet known. And with offline meters, no consumption readings are subsequently received either. So do block tariffs work in an acceptable manner when applied at the time of purchase for prepayment? The simple answer is no. The first problem is that subsequent purchases in the month get progressively more expensive for the same units purchased. We'll look at that just now. The second problem is that infrequent purchases result in more units being unfairly purchased at the highest rate. So looking more closely at problem 1, subsequent purchases in the month get progressively more expensive for the same units purchased. So by way of example, let's see what happens when we purchase and consume the same amount of units each week, 100 kilowatt hours in this example, during a given month using the tariff shown. The cost of the units purchased increases each subsequent week, first of all 200 in week 1, 400 in week 2, and 600 in week 3 for the same units. This means that for a constant consumption rate, the onus is on the consumer to save for purchases later in the month, which they probably can't or won't do. Looking now at problem 2, where infrequent purchases can be punitive to the consumer, and using the same tariff but purchasing 300 kilowatt hours at 3 monthly intervals should really cost the consumer 200 per month or 600 in total. But instead, because all the purchases take place in 1 month, all 300 kilowatt hours are charged at the time of purchase resulting in double the cost to the consumer, in this case $1,200. So the pros and cons of block tariffs are that the daily allocation method works very well for post-payment, but can't be applied at the time of purchase for prepayment. Prepayment monthly block tariffs can be applied at the time of purchase, but they have many disadvantages. They're based on units purchased and not units consumed, and subsequent purchases may be more costly later in the month, making it difficult for consumers to budget, and also penalizing consumers for infrequent purchases. So turning our attention to time of use tariffs and prepayment, we know of course that time of use tariffs can't be applied at the vending point for prepayment, but they can be applied inside a prepayment meter. So we're going to now take a look at that. Remember that time of use tariffs can be unpopular. A time of use tariff consists of different tariff rates applied at different times of the day. But it also can be punitive to the consumer because there's no allowance for consumption at the different times of day. The cost to the consumer can be significant because the cost is the energy times the tariff rate. There is much anticipation that smart meters can effectively apply complex tariffs in the meter. Currency tokens are dispensed at the time of prepayment, and then the meter applies the tariff at the time of consumption, deducting the cost of units consumed from the prepaid currency balance maintained within the meter, and then readings are sent on to the system. But there are significant downsides. There is first of all the overhead of distributed tariff management. How do the tariffs, algorithms, and rates get into the meter, and how are they updated? Meters are not accounting and billing systems. How does one generate invoices, make financial adjustments, levy auxiliaries? This task is the responsibility of the billing system, which will in effect have to repeat the tariff calculation for reconciliation purposes anyway. So we have to ask ourselves, does the accounting function belong in the meter at all? So in summary, the pros and cons of implementing prepaid complex tariffs like time of use in smart meters are as follows. These complex tariffs can be applied in a smart meter at the time of consumption, but this requires significant distributed tariff management, and meters aren't billing and accounting systems which must still perform their function. Smart meters are currently quite expensive, and as I've said, time of use tariffs are unpopular because of their punitive structure. So, what to do?
I will help you solve the greatest riddle of all.
In the last part of this series, As Easy as A, B, C, we'll dispel some significant myths in respect of implementing viable, demand-influencing tariffs using simple prepayment meters.